What's up, gorgeous? Welcome back to another video. As you can see by the title, we are now on episode 6 of Soul Searching A Terrible Year. I thought we talked about Corona in the last video. We did. Could you just let me finish? Like I was gonna say before I got interrupted, today we are visiting the past. 1978 to be exact. I know that 2020 has been a crazy year so far, but just hold on and listen just a minute or a couple more minutes, because 1978 was a pretty wild year. Not only does January have a Friday the 13th, but 2 days later, so January 15th, Ted Bundy escapes prison and murders Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman. 2 days after that, January 17th, the Sex Pistols broke up. This is needed for later events. Also, in January of 1978, Volkswagen stops the production of the Beetle in Germany. The Hillside Stranglers commit their final murders. Blizzards in New York City kill over 100 people within a 3-day time period. Charlie Chaplin's coffin and remains are stolen on March 1st. Larry Flint, the Hustler, is shot in Georgia. Also, I forgot to mention, but in February, Ted Bundy does get recaptured. Carl Walenda of the, he died in a tightrope accident in Puerto Rico, so the flying, I feel like I'm saying that wrong, so I'm just gonna stop. The Gutenberg Bible sold in New York City for $2 million. I do believe that later in the year it sells for more, but I'm not entirely confident about that. The record for the most shares traded on the stock market was hit on the 17th at 63.5 million. A cooling tower in West Virginia collapsed and kills 51 at a coal plant. May 3rd, the first spam email was sent. Ted Kaczynski targets Buckley Crisp for the first mailed bomb of the Unabomber. So Ted Kaczynski is the Unabomber, and his first victim is hit. Jeffrey Dahmer commits his first murder. David Berkowitz, aka the son of Sam, was sentenced 25 to life. The first Garfield comic strip published on June 19th. I look pretty weird right now, and we move into July, where I try some eyebrows I've been seeing around that are like the tailless eyebrows. I don't know, I'm probably about to mess this up. But in July of 1978, Richard Nixon makes his first public speech since his resignation. Nearly 100,000 demonstrators come together to march on Washington for Equal Rights Amendment, which was for equal rights based on sex. Meanwhile, the American Nazi Party is rallying in Chicago. Also, BBC bans Sex Pistols song "No One Is Innocent" from playing on the radio. I don't quite know how I feel about these eyebrows. They're not quite symmetrical. I might give them a tail. They've got little ombre tails, so they're still less noticeable, but Emily and William Harris plead guilty to the kidnapping of Patty Hearst, which happened in 1974. Yes. And they confessed in 78. Also in August, the first successful crossing of the Atlantic by balloon happened by a group of 3 Americans. In September was the Dawn of the Dead premiere. September 11th, no, we're in 1978, but the person who is last believed to be the last, they died from smallpox, they're the last person to do that. And a week later, on September 18th, all 4 members of KISS released their solo albums. On October 12th, Sid Vicious, the lead singer of the Sex Pistols I've been mentioning the whole time leading up to this, is charged with the murder of his girlfriend Nancy Spungen. On the 13th, President Jimmy Carter is answering people's phone calls live on the radio. So, just for generational purposes, that would be the same thing as President Trump doing an Instagram live. So, pretty big for the times. On October 23rd, Sid Vicious attempts suicide from his cell at Rikers in New York. And on October 25th, 1978, the movie Halloween is released. Which, by the way, October is the only other month in 1978 to have a Friday the 13th. My rolls really are not even, are they? This one's a lot higher. Oh well. In November, Harvey Milk and George Moscone, who is the mayor of San Francisco at the time, were assassinated. Also in November of 1978, the Jonestown Massacre kills 918 in a mass cult murder-suicide. December brings us the John Wayne Gacy confession, as well as Dennis Nelson's first murder. But wait, there's more. Oh, you thought we were done because December is the last month and I've been going in chronological order? Not quite. Other interesting things that happened in the year 1978 include teachers striking for extended summer breaks for students. Unemployment rises after several years of like almost full employment. And the USD plunges in value. Not to mention that like during this year is like right in the middle of the Cold War, and there's the constant threat of actually going to war while we're testing nuclear launches all over the place, along with other countries doing the same thing. It's just this constant like, are we not? Okay. So, Bulgarian defector Georgi Markov, am I saying that right? Probably not. Anyways, he's assassinated by secret police by them using a umbrella that's got a poison tip, and they just like poke him with it. To be honest, I've got no clue what any of that like has to do with anything or why this happened. I just thought it's like absolutely wild that someone went out by being poked with a poison umbrella tip. Roman Polanski, this happens in February. I knew that. I just didn't throw it into the timeline because it's not just US involved. Anyways, he flees to France after like being charged with and pleading guilty to a sexual assault case. If you think none of what I've said has really been that crazy, first, Have you been listening? Do you know how many serial killers I've mentioned in this video? Don't worry, I rename them in just a minute. But we've got through 3 popes in that 1 year, 1978. 3 popes. So the current pope, who was Pope Paul VI, dies at age 80. And then John Paul I becomes the Pope after him. But like 33 days into being Pope, he dies. So there's got to be another Pope instated. So that would be Cardinal Carol. I don't know, but he becomes Pope John Paul II. Also, this was a great year for gay rights movements. This is actually the year where the rainbow flag becomes the pride symbol. This happens on June 25th when Gilbert Baker flew his flag that he made at the San Francisco Gay Freedom Pride event. Parade. The first gay telefilm is published during this year. It's a name versus the U.S. Air Force. So that's released, I think, August 21st. Could be wrong. The first lesbian theme movie is also released, called A Question of Love, around November 26th, possibly. This, of course, is accompanied with many revisions and movements of laws. And there are many parades and rallies held throughout the year at various locations, not just in the US, but in other countries as well. This has been episode 6 of Soul Searching A Terrible Year. I hope you enjoyed this video and the makeup. I hope you liked all of the facts that were thrown in. Maybe you agree that 1978 was a crazy year. Maybe not crazier than 2020, but crazy nonetheless. So a lot of things happened in 1978, of course. We just listed them. But some of them would make really great topics for future soul searching videos. So I'm going to relist some of them and let you vote on which ones you want to know more about. And you can just comment down below in the comment section, or on Instagram you can DM me, or there will be a post about this video, you can comment there. On TikTok, go comment there. I might leave a space there for this. But so the serial killer related people that we talked about were Ted Bundy, the Hillside Stranglers, Ted Kaczynski, or the Unabomber. I mentioned his first bombing, but there were others within that year too. Jeffrey Dahmer, the son of Sam, and the Jonestown Massacre, which was more cult related than just serial killer, but all the same, a good topic for another video. I'm calling these politically motivated kills just because they weren't serial killers. The Sex Pistols, so they had a bad year in 1978, not gonna lie, but it was rough. Charlie Chaplin, his remains were stolen. The Patty Hearst kidnapping, I personally don't know a lot about that, so I'd have to do more information digging on my own. Harvey Milk, who was a gay rights activist, well, he was a gay man in public platforms for the time, and he got assassinated in the year 1978. And, I mean, again, we could talk about anything. This is our space, so we can talk about anything. Literally, I'll just break it down and make a video about it. So, I hope you enjoyed. Again, please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And have a great day.